We'll be looking at verse 4 from Adi Shankaracharya's Bhaja Govindam.
Okay.
And this verse uses this really striking image to kind of get at the whole idea of impermanence. It talks about a water droplet
Okay.
just perched on a lotus leaf.
I can picture it. That's a beautiful image.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Teetering on the edge, just about to fall back into the pond.
Yeah.
It really captures that fleeting nature of, well, everything.
It really does. I mean, it's like all of our experiences just kind of hanging there in the balance.
Exactly. So let's unpack this verse a bit, see what wisdom it has for us.
Yeah.
I'll start by reading it aloud. The water on a lotus leaf is extremely unsteady. Likewise, life is exceedingly fickle and transient. Understand that the world is afflicted by disease and ego, and the entire world is struck by sorrow.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, pretty intense, huh? Okay, so let's break it down line by line. That first line about the water on the lotus leaf, it really sets the stage.
It does. That feeling of instability, right? Like things are always in motion, never quite settled.
Exactly. And I think that's what Adi Shankaracharya is getting at.
Right. It's like that lotus leaf. It's rooted down there in the mud.
Ah, I see.
But that water droplet, well, it's just a visitor passing through like our experiences in the material world.
So kind of like those water droplets, just precariously balanced on the, well, the leaf of life, never knowing when we'll fall off.
Exactly. The verse is pointing to the Buddhist concept of anicca, which basically means impermanence. It's that idea that everything's in constant change, like nothing stays the same.
It makes me think about watching a sunset. Like, it's gorgeous and all, but we know it won't last. And that kind of makes it even more special, you know?
Absolutely. It's that fleeting beauty that captures us. But we forget about that a lot, that life itself is kind of like that sunset.
We do. We really do. It's like we're always clinging to things as if they're permanent. And then, well, we're disappointed when they change.
Right. And the second line of the verse, that life is exceedingly fickle and transient, it really drives home that point. The term they use, atishaya tapalam, emphasizes just how unsteady and fleeting life actually is. Really puts things in perspective.
So not only are we like those water droplets, always on the verge of falling, but the leaf itself, life itself, is constantly shifting below us.
Exactly. And this brings us to Maya and avidya.
Okay, Maya and avidya.
Yeah. Maya refers to that illusion of separateness, like the way we feel separate from the world around us and each other. And avidya.
Avidya.
Well, think of it as the opposite of wisdom, ignorance. We forget we are all interconnected.
Ah, I see. It's like we're looking through a distorted lens or something, mistaking what's impermanent for something that's, well, permanent. So if everything is in flux, even ourselves, where do we find meaning? What's actually worth holding on to?
Those are the big questions Adi Shankaracharya wants us to grapple with. And he starts to offer some answers in the rest of the verse, like that third line. Understand that the world is afflicted by disease and ego.
Yeah. Disease seems kind of straightforward, but
Yeah.
what's the deeper meaning there?
Well, the word they use in Sanskrit is yadi, and it means more than just physical sickness, you know? It's talking about that inherent suffering, the limitations of being human. Like our body's aging, experiencing pain, ultimately death. It's all part of it.
So it's about accepting that fragility, that vulnerability we all share.
Exactly. But then there's the other part of that line, an ego.
Yeah, the ego.
How do you see that fitting in?
Well, I always thought of ego as that part of us that wants to be right all the time, craves recognition, that kind of thing.
That's a good starting point. In Sanskrit, it's abhimana. It's all about identification. We identify with our bodies, our thoughts, our achievements, like we build up this sense of me that's separate from everything else.
Huh. I never thought of the ego like that. Always thirsty, always needing more. I guess that's why we never feel truly content, huh?
Exactly. That clinging to a limited sense of self, that constant craving, it leads to a lot of suffering.
Which brings us to the final line. And the entire world is struck by sorrow. That sounds kind of bleak, doesn't it?
It might sound that way at first, but what Adi Shankaracharya is pointing to is dukkha. It's often translated as suffering, but it's more than just big tragic events. It's that subtle, everyday dissatisfaction that comes from clinging to things that are temporary.
So the more we attach to those fleeting things, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. Our looks, our possessions, our status.
Exactly, and that leads to a really important question. If clinging to these impermanent things leads to suffering, is there a way to break free from that cycle? How can we find meaning in a life where we can't hold on to anything?
Yeah, that's a big question. It feels like Adi Shankaracharya is kind of pushing us towards a different way of thinking about life, one that doesn't depend on, well, grasping at those fleeting things, pleasure, possessions, all that.
Absolutely. And if you look back at the verse, there's actually a path forward, a way to navigate that reality of impermanence. He's asking us to understand that suffering.
Right. The disease and the ego, all
And
that.
exactly. But it doesn't end there. It's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, good. So there's some hope tucked away in this verse.
Definitely. Remember, Adi Shankaracharya, he was a master of Vedanta.
Vedanta.
It's a philosophical system that really focuses on, well, liberation from suffering. And through that lens, we can start to understand the deeper message.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What does Vedanta offer as a solution to, well, all this clinging and suffering?
Vedanta suggests that true fulfillment, it comes from understanding our true nature.
Or true nature.
Which goes beyond those limitations of the ego, that illusion of separateness. And one path to get there is through jnana yoga. It's the path of knowledge.
Jnana yoga. Okay, tell me more. What's that all about?
Imagine you're on this quest to understand your true nature. So first, you got to seek out those wise teachers. Immerse yourself in ancient texts,
Okay.
That's Shravana. Listening, learning from those who have walked the path before you.
So it's about opening ourselves up to new ways of seeing the world, expanding our understanding.
Right. But it goes deeper than that. Then comes manana. It's reflecting on those teachings, really taking the time to contemplate them, let them sink in, see how they apply to your own life.
So it's more than just an intellectual thing. It's about actually integrating that wisdom.
Exactly. And finally, there's nididhyasana. It's all about direct experience. Through meditation, you're going beyond just thoughts and experiencing that truth of impermanence in the present moment.
That sounds pretty intense, like a scientific experiment or something. Testing the theory out in, well, the lab of our minds. But how does meditation actually help with impermanence?
Think of it this way. When you meditate, you practice observing your thoughts, your feelings, those sensations, without judging them. You're seeing how everything comes and goes, like those water droplets on the lotus leaf.
Oh, I see. So we're training ourselves to see those constant changes without getting swept away by them, like becoming more like the lotus leaf itself.
Beautiful way to put it. Jnana yoga, with all that focus on knowledge, reflection, and direct experience, it offers a way to find some stability in the midst of all that impermanence.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But let's bring this back to our listener for a second. What does this mean for someone who's, maybe feeling kind of overwhelmed by all the change happening in their life?
It's important to remember that understanding impermanence, it doesn't mean becoming passive or just giving in to fate. It's about waking up to reality so you can make conscious choices about how you want to live.
So instead of resisting change, we learn to flow with it.
Exactly. Instead of holding on to those fleeting things, you can focus on what endures.
What kind of things?
Yeah. Well, things like compassion, wisdom, inner peace. Those things don't depend on what's happening around you. They come from within. And you can cultivate them through things like meditation, self-reflection, acts of kindness,
Right. We tend to think of happiness as this thing outside of ourselves, something to acquire or achieve.
It's like trying to quench your thirst with salt water.
That's a powerful image, the constant craving and, well, never really finding satisfaction.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is there's another kind of happiness, a deeper contentment that comes from understanding our true nature.
Right. And that's where non-attachment comes in. It doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or ignoring your emotions. It's about learning to engage with life, but also recognizing that everything is in flux.
But isn't there a danger of becoming too detached? Like, how do we engage with the world in a meaningful way while also accepting that impermanence?
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? To be present, to really engage with life, but not get so attached that it hurts when things change. Because, well, they always do. It is. It's a balancing act for sure. And it takes practice. But the more we understand that impermanence, the easier it becomes to accept change. It's about shifting how we look at things.
So instead of change being a threat, it's like an opportunity for growth, transformation.
Yeah. Every ending, it's also a beginning. Like every time we lose something, it creates space for something new. Think of it like the seasons.
Oh, okay.
The leaves fall in autumn.
Yeah.
Beautiful, all those colors. But then they break down, they nourish the soil. And then new life pops up in spring.
That's a great analogy. Even in loss, there's this potential for renewal, for growth. But this all sounds kind of theoretical. How do we actually apply this in our everyday lives?
Mindfulness. It starts there. Paying attention to what's happening right now without judgment, Noticing your breath, how your body feels, what you're thinking, your emotions, just noticing.
So instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, we just observe what's going on right now.
Exactly. And when you do that, you create space between what's happening and how you react. You start to see that you have a choice in how you respond to change.
That reminds me of what you said earlier about, like, compassion and inner peace. How do those fit in?
Well, with compassion, you're opening yourself up to other suffering, recognizing that everyone's dealing with change, with loss in their own way.
Right.
It connects us to, well, to our shared humanity. It helps us be more understanding, kinder.
So instead of getting lost in our own struggles, we see that it's a human thing. We all go through it.
Exactly. And inner peace, that's about finding stability, calmness. No matter what's going on around you, it doesn't mean you won't face challenges or feel difficult emotions. It's more like learning to ride those waves without being pulled under.
Like building a safe haven inside yourself, no matter what's going on outside.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And the more you cultivate these qualities, compassion, inner peace, the stronger you become, the better you can handle change.
This has been so insightful, really eye-opening. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From, well, ancient wisdom to modern-day practices. But it seems like the main point is understanding impermanence isn't about giving up. It's about waking up so we can live more freely, with more joy, more purpose.
Absolutely. And, maybe as our listener keeps exploring this idea, they'll even discover that impermanence, well, it's not something to be afraid of. It's what makes life so vibrant, so interesting, all that change, that constant dance. It's beautiful in a way.
What a great thought to end on. So until next time, keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and keep diving deep.